profile. Yeah. I mentioned in my previous video that I played in some tournaments over the last week in the post-Power of the Elements format. So, most of the results on the poll were asking to see the deck profile that I actually played in the tournaments, rather than the deck profile that I was using in the replays that was using the DPE package, because I got the DPE package from, you know, playing in those tournaments. So, yeah. Gonna go ahead and showcase the deck profile and kind of just talk about, like, things as they, you know, come up. Let's see, how further on up do this? Yeah, we'll do it like that. There we go. All right, to start things off, we have got the best card in the deck, the one that almost never resolves because it's the best card in the deck. 3 copies of Branded Fusion. Yeah, best card in the deck. This gives you the most payoff. Yeah, that's why it almost never resolves. It pretty much gets ashed or like interrupted by Crow or whatever, but like it never gets to resolve all the way. But if it does, it's pretty strong. We've got 2 copies of Nadir Servant. You know, second best card in the deck, I would say. Almost as high of a payoff with some of the new cards out of Power of the Element. This card's basically engaged now, so that's pretty cool. 1 copy of Fusion Deployment. This is how you're summoning your Blue Eyes White Dragon, if you actually are summoning the vanilla most of the time. Then 1 copy of Dragon Shrine, just, you know, as a one-of. Just more stuff to help you play through Ash Blossom specifically. And then we've got 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talents. Card's very strong. Again, we're trying to play through Ash Blossom. And yeah, 1 copy of Instant Fusion and 1 copy of Called by the Grave. These, you know, again, we don't want to lose to Ash Blossom, so we want to play through Ash Blossom and play through the hand traps. So that's another thing. Then we got 2 copies of Super Polymerization. This card's actually pretty insane in this format. The new Super Poly target that also doubles as a Nadir Sen out of Power of the Elements. It's like pretty crazy against the Sprite board. You can Super Poly away the Sprite Elf and I think Red or Carrot, and that deals with 2 interruptions right there, so that's pretty good. And then lastly for the spells, we got 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. Best pot card right now, or at least in this deck anyways, one of the best pot cards. Adds that consistency, helps you dig. A lot of the time, this will take the Ash Blossom out of your hand if you banish 6. They will ash that a lot of the time. Then we've on to the trap cards. 2 copies of Dogmatic of Punishment. I'm playing 2 because this is one of the best cards in the deck. It's a extremely powerful trap card that also doubles as a pseudo starter sometimes. Being able to send, you know, Titaniclad or Albion or whatever, or like, you know, Abelonatus to get fusion deployment. Yeah, playing 2 because I do want to draw it sometimes. And then I'm maining quite a few Floodgates. I'm playing 3 Gozen, 2 TC Boo, and 2 Skill Drain. I'm playing 40 cards, so that's why we're, you know, playing the ratios that we are. One of the things I noticed during testing was that if you, well, actually, like, one of the things I noticed during testing was that consistently I was able to play through the Sprite board and, like, you know, break the board, but I would lose to the crackback because my resources had been used to break the board. So I wasn't able to build enough of a board to stop their follow-up. The Floodgates kind of fix that problem, and I'm playing these specific Floodgates because these Floodgates are all good going second as well. Being able to flip this up and break a board, being able to flip like any of these, and you can effectively, you know, break a board with these. So that's one of the big things about why I'm playing these Floodgates specifically. And also, like, you don't really, you're not as affected by these Floodgates as well. So that's one of the big things. That's it for the traps. On to the monsters. We got 3 copies of Spriggan's Kit. I remembered that this was in the Albash structure deck, and so I decided to play this. One of the differences between this and the previous build is that I stopped playing Keeper of Dragon Magic because we're in a format where everyone's playing 15 hand traps, and I've noticed that like Keeper getting ashed really hurts if you don't have like the follow-up. And like specifically, a lot of times my Keeper will get impermed, and that really hurts because, you know, you're discarding and you don't get to replenish those resources. The thing about this one is, even though it's like similar to how Keeper works in regards to resolution, it's a lot better for this to get imperm than it is for Keeper to get imperm. So that's why I'm playing the 3 Spriggans kit. And then I picked up a second Aluber. So I'm playing 2 Aluber in this build. So yeah, these are your normal summons basically. You have the 3 kit and the 2 Aluber. And the one thing about well, you actually do play like more normal summons technically, but like one of the things I like about this list is that, like, you know, kit can also be special summons, so that's pretty useful. And then we have the Dogmaticas. I've got the 1 Fleur-de-Lis and the 3 Ecclesia. Again, like technically speaking, this is also a normal summon, but like the benefit of this and kit is that they can both be special summoned. So yeah, that actually does come up sometimes. And then we've got the Blue Eye stuff. It has been trimmed down quite a lot because I am trying to play 40 cards. And we're playing the 2 Stone of Ancients, the 1 Stone of Legend. I cut down on one of the stones because without Keeper in the deck, drawing these isn't like super crazy. The main thing is that I wanted to be able to consistently play through the sprite board. And in testing, I noticed that most of the time, if I wasn't able to like win the game, it was because I had like dead cards in hand. The thing about like the Stone of Ancients is that if you have this plus like a like an Aluber in your hand or something, you have to go, which one do I normal summon? And obviously you're going to normal summon the Aluber. And the problem with this is that if you get like stopped on the Aluber or you get stopped on the kit, then this is just in your hand not doing anything. That's with most of the Blue Eyes cards. They're still good to have in the deck because you do get a lot of value out of these cards, but it's just, I cut down on them and decided to focus on having like more cards to tutor into these rather than having more copies of these in like general, I guess. Like instead of playing like, you know, 3 Stone, 3 Blue Eyes, 3 Jet, I'm just playing, you know, I'm just playing them in the deck and then just playing a bunch of cards that get me to these cards. Because another thing I noticed was that even with like before, when I was playing like the 3 Keeper, 3 Kit, the 2 Alubers, 3 Stone, I was in situations where even I wouldn't be able to like use all of the cards in my hand because I had like too many cards that required me to take a certain sequence, and if that sequence got stopped, the other cards in my hand suddenly became useless. So rather than playing, you know, all of these, that's why I'm playing like, you know, the Dragon Shrine and the Fusion Deployment, because if my card gets stopped, I can still kind of get value out of those. You know, I'd rather see a Dragon Shrine in my hand than a Stone of Ancients, for example, right? And then obviously, I never, you know, showcase this, but like obviously you play the Fall of Albaz in order to enable the branded fusion line. And then we've got 2 more monsters in the deck, and it is the you know, the card you guys were waiting for. It is the Blue Eyes Jet Dragon and Blue Eyes White Dragon. So I'm playing them both at 1 because in testing I noticed that the second copies of these literally never came up. Most of the time, all it did was cause me to brick on it more because I would like draw into them. And most of the time when you draw into them, they're just kind of stuck. I noticed so many times in testing that I would lose because this exact combination was just sitting in my hand and I couldn't, you know, get this into the grave to make this live at least. So I opted to, you know, cut these down to 1 and again play more stuff to like get these in rotation rather than like playing a bunch of them so I draw them, because I don't really want to draw them in this deck. I don't want to draw them, I want to summon them, you know. Imagine, you know, you want to summon your Blue Eyes in your Blue Eyes deck, but whatever. And then we move on to the extra deck. We've got the one copy of Link Kuriboh because sometimes your hand is terrible and you need to be able to link off that Stone of Ancients to summon a Blue Eyes. I'm gonna be real, it doesn't come up that often. And most of the time you are just banishing this off of Prosperity. But theoretically, in the worst possible hand, this would be necessary for you to play. And then I'm playing one copy of Cyframe Lord Omega. It's, you know, limited to one. This card's really good, being able to add a lot of versatility to the Dogmatica stuff. And then the rest of the extra deck is just fusion. So we got the one Millenniumized Restrict, the one Albalanatus, one Entis, one Starving Venom, one Dragos Tapelia, one copy of the new Super Poly target, Garura, which is also like a Nadir send. Honestly, I want to say like this has been probably one of my favorite things post Power of the Elements, because like this card just adds so much versatility to the deck, and I cannot tell you how often I go Nadir, send Garura, and then like search Ecclesia, and then draw, and then Ecclesia, and then search, and it's so powerful. The Mud Dragon, and that's it for the Super Poly targets. Well, the purely Super Poly targets, because like technically the Albaz stuff is all Super Poly targets, but that's not what we're talking about. And then we've got two Albion, one Titaniclad, one Lubellion, and one Mirrorjade. I've thought about playing a second Mirrorjade, but I found that like it never really comes up, or rather it doesn't come up often enough for me to feel like it's necessary. A lot of the time, or rather, if you play a second Albaz, maybe a second Mirrorjade would come up more often, but like in my experience, the second Mirrorjade was just never coming up. So this ratio felt pretty good. And then the last card in the extra deck is the one copy of Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. I thought about originally I was playing Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon at this always happens when I talk for too long. The Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, because it doubles as a punishment target that gives you the ability to pop pretty much anything in the game. But it also has that protection effect. But I found that I was pretty much never doing that. And Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon at least comes up sometimes when you want to summon it, because, you know, you can summon off Albion and Lubellion, and I have done that a couple of times. A lot of times, if you're like trying to resolve Albion and you get like crowed on the Albaz, then like sometimes you go into this, or you're going to like Dragos Tapelia. Like if I'm going second, I'll usually go into this and like clear the board. If I'm going first and it happens, I'll go into like Dragos Tapelia usually. And that's it for the extra deck, and on to the side deck. So basically, you know, you're playing a lot of Floodgates. People are going to side in back row hate. So 3 copies of Lord of the Heavenly Prison to side in, going first, games 2 and 3. We've got triple copies of Dark Ruler No More on the side. There was a period while I was yeesh, boy. While I was testing where I was maining 3 Dark Ruler instead of siding it. But I found that, like, you know, after testing against the Sprite matchup a bunch, that I was able to consistently play through the board. And, like, Super Poly kind of, like, fulfills the same niche while also being a lot better to draw than Dark Ruler. Because if you see Super Poly going first, you can still set it as a disruption, whereas Dark Ruler is only really good going second. But yeah, it's like definitely keep it in the side, because this does still like win you the game for free a lot of the time. And then I've got triple copies of Lightning Storm in the side. This deck is very, very heavily tailored towards going first. So like, you know, post board, I do want to be able to have a lot of options for going second. And then we've got 3 copies of Evenly Matched following that same logic. And then more stuff for going first, because again, people are going to side in all the back row hate. 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. So typically I'm going to side in like these 6 going first and then these 9 going second. But yeah, I opted not to play hand traps because I found that the hand traps just didn't feel very impactful when I was playing them. It's like I was originally just playing a playset of Crow, but it's just every single time I would Crow, it pretty much felt like it just didn't do anything. Occasionally the DD Crow will like end, the turn if like their hand is terrible. Like if you're playing against Sprite and their hand is terrible and you Crow the Ronin Totem, like in that specific scenario it's impactful and it is very good against tier elements. But I found that again, like even if they were able to like do their full combo, I found that I was pretty consistently able to like play through the entire board. And so like being able to like play through the board and then set a floodgate and flip it up to stop their crackback was typically enough for me to win the game pretty consistently. So rather than playing hand traps, I'm just playing the floodgates in the main because, obviously they're way stronger going first and they're still really strong going second as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the deck profile portion. I am gonna showcase like a couple of the interactions between like the different engines. So obviously like the main thing is like the main benefit of like playing the Blue Eye stuff is that this can actually resolve even if it's like the only card in your hand without like getting rid of your branded engine, because you can go Branded Fusion, send the Stone of Legend and the Fallen Valbass, and then you're going to summon the Albion, and then Chainlink 1 Stone of Legend, Chainlink 2 Albion. You're going to Fusion Summon into Lubellion. Yeah, Fusion Summon into Lubellion. And then the stone is going to resolve and add your Blue Eyes White Dragon. And then in a new chain, the Lubellion is going to trigger. And because your stone just added this Blue Eyes, you can ditch this Blue Eyes to Fusion Summon by shuffling back your Lubellion and your Albaz, or like you can shuffle back the Albion, it depends on which one you want to keep, and summon Mirror Jade. And then, that's basically that. If you open a Stone of Ancients, instead of sending the Stone of Legend, you just send the Blue Eyes White Dragon, and then off of your Lubellion, you pitch your Stone of Ancients and you summon Jet Dragon instead. Or either you summon Jet Dragon in addition to the Mirror Jade. And if you do have like a good discard, you can send like Stone of Ancients, but it's just like that's the main interaction, is that like you just send Stone of Ancients and like Stone of Legend to be able to like plus off the cost basically. And then like with Mirror Jade, you can send Albalinatus to search fusion deployment, so you can summon your Blue Eyes, or you can send like Titaniclad to special like Dogmatica stuff, and it snowballs very, very quickly. So it's like, don't expect Branded Fusion to resolve very often, especially once your opponent understands like Jet Dragon's effect, because I will acknowledge that like a lot of times you're kind of able to get away with murder because like people do not read Blue Eye stuff, or rather they will read the Blue Eyes, or rather they will like kind of half read the Blue Eye stuff. They'll go, oh, it's a Blue Eyes card, I don't care, and then they just kind of like let it resolve. And I cannot tell you how many times I've had this plus like back row, and they activate Lightning Storm and call back row, and I go, that resolves. And then they go like so, and I go, read the first line of text on Jet Dragon. And the thing is, it's not even that I like summon Jet Dragon and don't say anything. I always like very explicitly explain how my cards work. I always will say like, other cards I control cannot be destroyed by card effects. Like I'll always say that. And they'll just kind of like ignore it basically. And like, I don't know, it's just like, I don't know why people just like kind of overlook Jet Dragon and like how good it is. Actually, because one of the things that I realized was kind of brought up is I feel like a lot of people overlook that, that this card has to be played around in a very specific way. If your opponent tries to like DD Crow this when you trigger it after like destroying a monster by battle. They can't DD Crow it because it's triggering in the damage step. If you hit over something or they hit over your monster and you go Jet Dragon effect to special and they try to chain DD Crow or chain Called by the Grave, they cannot because they cannot activate those cards in the damage step. Same thing if you're attacking into a monster and you activate the effect to bounce and they try to like chain Chalice. Oh, well, actually they can chain Chalice because Chalice can be activated in damage step. But let's say Hot Red or like Imperm or something, right? They can't, chain Imperm and they can't chain Hot Red because again, this is triggering in the damage step. So just be mindful of the fact that this triggers in damage step. So it's like if your opponent tries to like chain Crow or chain Called by in the damage step, they cannot activate those cards in the damage step. But that specifically only applies to if the effective special is being triggered by a monster being destroyed by battle. If, you trigger this off of something like Dogmatic Punishment, then yes, they can Crow it. But if it's triggered by something being destroyed by battle, then they cannot chain Crow because it's triggering in the damage step. They have to preemptively hit this card. If they wait for it to trigger, then they can't chain. So, yeah, that's just something I wanted to bring up because I've had a couple of people mention that, like, people just like chain Crow, and I'm like, no, you can't do that. It's happening in damage step. Is there any other, like, weird interaction? Not really. Yep. Oh, okay, yeah. Here's another one. So like with Lord of the Heavenly Prison and Jet Dragon, they, how they protect your cards from being destroyed. So I've had some people say that like it's an illegal activation if they attempt to like activate Feather Duster while these cards are live. That is not true. It is a legal activation. They just resolve without destroying anything because of these cards' effects. It is a legal activation, so they do just kind of activate the card and lose the card. So yeah, that's the last thing. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I showed the branded fusion thing, I guess. I guess we can do like one test hand. Just one. Oh, actually, I also want to go over like side decking as well. So, just real quick, I'll do like just one quick test hand. And should I do test hands first or should I do the side deck thing first? I'll do the side deck thing after the test hand because I've already started shuffling. Because I did mention like what I side going first and what I side going second, but like probably I'll mention like the matchups and stuff for like side decking patterns because there's like Punk. I played against a lot of Punk. I played against a lot of Tier. Well, no, I actually didn't play against a lot of Tier. I played against a lot of Punk and a lot of Sprite. I only played against like 2 Tier players. Yeah, most of the time I was playing against like Sprite or Punk. Punk is by far like the most popular thing, and I think a lot of that's because like most of the players in my region already had the Punk stuff, and it was just a matter of getting like the new stuff and like Shinobi Necro. But like Sprite as well, like I'm gonna be real, I did not expect so many people to have Sprite already. It's like crazy, like so many people have Sprite. Yeah. Let's see if we draw Blue Eyes White Dragon, because somehow even though I've cut down, I still draw it a lot. So we got TC Boo. Yep. Although this one isn't as bad to draw. This one is not as bad to draw. Kit, Gozen, and Stone of Ancients. Ugh. We still managed to draw the Garnets, no matter what. So obviously, we are going to normal summon Spriggan's Kit. And if they ash us, that's tough. We will set our floodgates and we will pass. But if they do not, we are going to add the Branded Fusion. Doop, doop, doop. Add the Branded Fusion. Now, the interesting thing here is, do you want to put back the Stone of Ancients or the copy of Jet Dragon? And in this particular scenario, because I want to summon the Jet Dragon from the deck, I'm going to put back the Jet Dragon. And then we're going to activate the Branded Fusion. And we have the Stone of Ancients in hand. So we can go ahead and send the Blue Eyes White Dragon to the grave and our copy of Fallen of Albaz. And summon the Albion. Summon it in defense. Activate the effect of Fusion Summon. Gonna banish the Kit and the Fallen of Albaz to make the Lubellion. Get the Lubellion effect. We're gonna pitch the Stone of Ancients that we kept in our hand. And we're gonna Fusion Summon by shuffling back the Lubellion and the Albaz for the Mirror Jade. So, shuffle back the Fallen of Albaz, set our 2 floodgates, and enter the end phase. Effective Stone of Ancients, we're going to summon the Jet Dragon. So, summon the Jet Dragon. You can't really see the Jet Dragon, can you? So, summon the Jet Dragon. And pretty much this is, you know, pretty standard how you want to set up. It's really hard for people to play through floodgates. And it's really hard for them to out them because Jet Dragon is on the board. So you might remember that I had Gozen set. Now, against a lot of matchups, like pretty much if you're not playing against Punk, TC Boo will shut them out. And at that point, you just, you know, send the Albion because this is a worm, this is a dragon, you keep the Jet Dragon. Pretty much like in the floodgate rotation, you're going to keep Jet Dragon because Jet Dragon is the one that keeps summoning itself back if they like get rid of it. So yeah, that's pretty much how a test hand looks. Well, a test hand where Branded Fusion actually resolves anyway. Yeah, I got a couple of comments pointing out that they like barely saw the Blue Eye stuff in like the replays, and that's because like everyone is maining 15 hand traps and 3 DD Crow is in everyone's main deck. And like the thing about DD Crow is that your stuff has to be in the graveyard in the end phase for it to be able to trigger. So if you try to enter end phase and go end of main and they like crow the stone out of the grave, then well, you don't get to summon your Jet Dragon. And that happens like almost every single game. And like another one is that if, you know, they crow the Fallen of Albaz, you usually don't get your Jet Dragon. And it's just, it's so common for that stuff to get stopped. So that's probably why like you didn't see like the Blue Eyes stuff a lot in the replays. So yeah, side decking patterns. One of these. Keeping 1 punishment usually. Alright, so these are the cards that I usually side. What gets sided depends on the matchup, depends on whether I'm going first or not. Against Punk, these come out. These come out. Usually the called by gets sided out going second. Depending on the strength of the board, I guess. Some of the more of the floodgates come out. Sometimes tactics stays in because, you know, you can use it going second. But if let's say I was going second against Punk, what would I side? These are coming out for sure. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, well, yeah, I do kind of want to just like break their board completely. So 4. Gozen is like one of the most impactful cards against that deck. Skill Drain, we do want to keep in Skill Drain because if they summon Psychic End Punisher, you are crying. Gozen isn't as crazy going second because by that point they've usually gotten to Changing, and Changing is a house. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we're going second, so probably side out like, oh, the one punishment. There's still another one in the deck. So yeah, we side out one punishment. So this is 9. And then we side in the Dark Rulers, the Lightning Storms, and the Evenlies. So these 9 would come out against Punk, and then those would come in. Going first, these 4 come out. These 4 come out. I kind of keep the tactics. Skill Drain can come out. They have a lot of like grave effects, and they have a lot of big monsters. Gozen is like the most impactful one against them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these 6 come out, and then you bring in the Heavenly Prisons and the Judgments if you're going first. Against Sprite. So what am I siding out? Going second against Sprite? Typically, like all of the floodgates are kind of good against Sprite, if I'm gonna be real. But if you're like going second, like the skill drains come out. Super Poly stays. Actually, Super Poly does usually come out because I don't like to pitch the card. This is if I'm going first against Sprite, anyway. And you're probably gonna get hand trap, so you keep that in. And then 1 goes in, 1 punishment. Typically, one of the things that will happen post games 2 and 3 is that I'll side out a punishment. So these 6 for the Heavenly Prisons and the so these 6 for the Heavenly Prisons and the Judgments. So these become 3 Heavenly Prisons, 3 Judgments. Going first against Sprite. Going second against Sprite. Skill Drain comes out. And the Skill Drain comes out. We keep the Gozen, actually, because it's really strong against that deck. Because we're only siding in the 3 Dark Rulers. And then we just side out like 1 more card. I said I was going second, right? Where art thou? Oh, going second. Side out the Called By. So yeah, Skill Drains and the Called By. The thing is, Skill Drain's not crazy going second if your opponent can put up board presence. Because they can just kind of attack you until you die. So it's like you need the stuff that actually gets rid of their monsters too. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna be it. This video's gotten pretty long. So I've covered the side decking patterns. I've covered like, you know, some side decking patterns for certain matchups. You know, actually, I'll talk about Flunder. Flunder is by far, I would say, your worst matchup because, well, Barrier Statue and Dimension Shifter. You can actually play through Dimension Shifter. You can play through Dimension Shifter. Basically, what you do is that when you Branded Fusion, you just send Albaz and like, you know, one of your darks, and then you just Lubellion and just shuffle them back so you don't like lose all of your resources. So yeah. But the downside is that, like, you know, you can't actually activate Mirror Jade effect because it has to send a grave for cost. And because you're under Shifter, you cannot pay the cost. But, like, the Floodgates pretty much all hose Flunder. Because if they normal Rabina and you flip this up, then, well, that shuts off their entire deck. If you flip up TC Boo, that shuts off their entire deck. If you flip up Skill Drain, that shuts off their entire deck. Going second, you just side in like the Dark Rulers, the Evenlies, the Lightning Storm, and basically, like, I already showcased like how you side for that. But yeah, that's pretty much. I'm trying to think if there's another like relevant matchup. I mean, if there's a matchup, you guys can just like leave a comment and ask me about it, and I'll probably tell you what I would usually do in those matchups. But yeah, this has been Darkslayer Arim from Haltessiagaming. Thank you very much for watching, and have a wonderful day. Now the question is, will the button work? Button, button, button. Come on.